Fashion Week in Pokemon Go is being taken over by Team Go Rocket, and in this video I will be going through all of the details and tips to help you make the most of it. So the Team Go Rocket takeover does take place from January 15th at 12 AM until the 19th at 8 PM local time. But what exactly does this event have to offer? Well, we do have a Pokemon Go debut in the form of Shroodle, which will unfortunately be locked to 12km eggs. And if you do happen to be lucky enough to hatch one, you can evolve it with 50 candy into its evolution Grafaiai. For the bonuses, Team Go Rocket will be appearing more frequently at Pokestops and in balloons. You will be able to encounter fashionable Croagunk from Snapshot Photo Bomb encounters, and you'll be able to remove frustration from your shadow Pokemon using a charged TM. So well worth taking advantage of this while you can, because afterwards you most likely won't be able to do this for a few months. And as this Team Go Rocket takeover is during Fashion Week, you will also get bonuses from the Fashion Week as well. And these bonuses are 2x catch Stardust, 2x chance for Candy XL from catching Pokemon, you'll have an increased chance to encounter shiny fashionable Curlier from the wild, and you'll have an increased chance to encounter shiny fashionable Butterfree, Dragonite, Minccino and regular Furfrou. You will however only have increased shiny rates for these four from raids. There will be field research tasks that will reward you with mysterious components and charged and fast TMs. There will be a collection challenge that will reward Stardust and a Trubbish encounter. Pokestop showcases will be available, and there'll be a Team Go Rocket box available in the in-game shop. And being a Team Go Rocket takeover, there will be new shadow Pokemon lineups for Rocket Grunts, Leaders and Giovanni. So at the start of the event you will get a special research that you can progress through to get a Super Rocket Radar. You can then use this Super Rocket Radar to challenge and defeat Giovanni. Defeating Giovanni this time will get you an encounter with Shadow Palkia, which is catchable but it can't be shiny. And there will also be other shadow Pokemon making their debut, including Shadow Taillow, Snivy, Oshawott, Tepig, Trubbish and Bunnelby. And I will be going through how good these shadow Pokemon are later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. The wild encounters will be those that spawn for the Fashion Week, which will be Skitty, Buneary, Furfrou, Bruxish, Fashionable Diglett, Fashionable Blitzel and rarely Fashionable Curlier. For the raids, in 1-star raids will be Furfrou, Fashionable Shinx and Fashionable Minccino. In 3-star raids will be Fashionable Butterfree and Fashionable Dragonite. In 5-star raids will be Palkia up until the 16th at 10 AM, and then Deoxys in its attack and defense forms will be taking over. In Mega raids will be Mega Lopunny up until the 16th at 10 AM, where Mega Gallade will then take over. In 1-star shadow raids will be both Shadow Nidoran, Shadow Totodile and Shadow Ralts. In 3-star shadow raids will be Shadow Electabuzz, Magmar and Wobbuffet. In 5-star shadow raids will be Shadow Registeel on Saturdays and Sundays only, apart from the 19th between 2 PM and 5 PM, because during this time there will be a Shadow Raid Day featuring Shadow Ho-Oh. For this event you will get 5 additional free raid passes from spinning gyms. Shadow Ho-Oh will have a 1 in 10 shiny rate, and during the event you will be able to use a charge TM to teach any Ho-Oh Sacred Fire, but more on this in another video. So which of the event Pokemon are most worth focusing on? For the wild encounters, it does go without saying that any of the costume Pokemon are worth going after for their shinies, because they are pretty rare, and even though some of them may return in the future, sometimes these Pokemon won't return for a few years, so now is a good chance to hunt them if you want them. However, none of the wild encounters for this event have any particular meta relevance, although Buneary does have a little bit of relevance in the fact that Mega Lopunny is the 12th best fighting type attacker, but if you do have access to other fighting type Megas like Gallade, Blaziken, Heracross and Lucario, then there isn't really much point trying to hunt a high IV Buneary. Curlier is worth picking up as well because the candy will be useful for Mega Gardevoir and Mega Gallade. However, it is worth noting that this Curlier can't currently evolve and it might never be able to. For the regular raids, Fashionable Shinx will be available in 1-star raids, and again this costume Pokemon can't evolve, but it could be worth picking up some candy for Shadow Luxray if you've got one, because Shadow Luxray is actually the 12th best electric type attacker, so not a bad option. Furfrou doesn't have any meta relevance, but it does have a lot of different forms to collect, and some are regional, so if you are collecting them then it is worth picking up a few Furfrou that you can form change, and you will need the candy to do this form change. And also Furfrou is shiny boosted in raids during this event, so if you do want to collect the different forms as shinies, this could be a good chance to try and do so. We do also have access to Fashionable Dragonite, and it is the 23rd best dragon type attacker, and as a shadow it's the 9th best, so the candy will be very useful for powering up the shadow version if you have it. It is also ranked 82 in the Ultra League as a shadow with 0, 13, 15s, but more importantly it is a really good Pokemon to pick up for the Master League, because in the Master League it is ranked 17 and ranked 20 as a shadow. So if you're looking to get into playing Master League, then Dragonite is a good option for this, especially as it is quite an accessible Pokemon for the Master League, because a lot of the higher ranking Master League Pokemon are legendary Pokemon, which are more difficult to obtain and power up. Palkia is also available in raids at the start of the Rocket Rocket Takeover, and it is the 16th best Dragon type attacker and the 5th best in its Origin form. In the Master League, it's also ranked 13 and ranked 2 in its Origin form. So generally, the Origin form does see more play, especially with the fact it does have access to Legacy move Spatial Rend, which does have an adventure effect that can be used outside of battle to increase the distance at which you encounter wild Pokemon. But it might still be worth raiding the altered form of Palkia because of its Master League relevance, and also the candy you get can be used for Spatial Rend on Origin Palkia. Mega Gallade will also be available, and it is the 8th best Fighting type attacker and the 5th best Psychic type attacker. Gallade itself is also decent in Go Battle League, where it is ranked 51 in its Shadow form in the Great League with 0, 15, 15 IVs, and it's ranked 106 in the Ultra League with 0, 12, 15 IVs. And for the Shadow raids, firstly, Shadow Nidoran will be available, and the female version will be a good target to go after for Go Battle League, because Shadow Nidoqueen is ranked 48 in the Ultra League and ranked 37 as a non-Shadow with 0, 14, 15 IVs. And with most of these Pokemon from raids, when using them in Go Battle League, you might want to do some mirror trades to try and reroll the attack IV lower. This is because from regular raids, Pokemon have a 10, 10, 10 IV floor, and from Shadow raids, they have a 6, 6, 6 IV floor. Shadow Totodile will be available, and Shadow Feraligatr is a very strong Pokemon in Pokemon Go at the moment. It is ranked 7 in the Great League with 0, 11, 13 IVs. It is also ranked at the very top in the Ultra League with 1, 15, 14 IVs, and it's ranked 51 in the Master League. And Shadow Feraligatr is also really good as a raid attacker. It's the 8th best Water type attacker, so an all-round great Pokemon to have. Again, it's worth noting the Shadow Raid IV floor, but you can always mirror trade to reroll IVs. If I'm honest though, for the Great and the Ultra Leagues, it might be worth trying to get a Shadow Totodile from Team Go Rocket Grunts if it's part of the rotation, because Pokemon encounters from Grunts have no IV floor. However, having higher IVs from raids will suit it more in the Master League and as a raid attacker. It is worth noting that it does want Legacy move Hydro Cannon to be at its best, and to get this you will need to use a regular Charge TM to remove Frustration from it, and then use an Elite Charge TM to get Hydro Cannon. We do also have access to Shadow Routes, and this Pokemon does have quite a few uses. As I mentioned before, Shadow Glade does have some relevance in Go Battle League, and as a Mega, it's a strong Fighting and Psychic type attacker. And for Routes' other evolution branch, Shadow Gardevoir is the 3rd best Fairy type attacker, Mega Gardevoir is the best Fairy type attacker. Also, Routes will have a Community Day Classic coming up later on in the month, where you will be able to get a lot of candy to power these up. And in 3-star Shadow raids, Shadow Electabuzz is available and a good target to go after, because Shadow Electivire is the 6th best Electric type attacker. And if you can, raiding Shadow Registeel would be a good idea, because as a regular or purified version of Registeel, it is ranked 57 in the Great League with 2, 13, 14 IVs, and it's ranked 9 in the Ultra League with 1, 10, 15 IVs. As I mentioned before, there will also be new Shadow Pokemon available at the start of the event, but will they be any good? Firstly, Shadow Oshawott evolution, Shadow Samurott, will be the 10th best Water type attacker. However, in Go Battle League, its Shadow version won't be quite as good as its regular version, where it is ranked 71 in the Great League with 0, 14, 14 IVs. For Shadow Snivy, the non-Shadow Serperior is currently ranked 40 in the Great League with 0, 10, 15 IVs, and it does seem like the Shadow version will be pretty similar to it in the Great League in terms of rank, but it will have different matchups it'll be better at and different matchups it'll be worse at. And we do also have Shadow Bunnelby, and its Evolution Diggersby in its regular form is the 5th best in the Great League, so a great Pokemon to have for Great League. Unfortunately, as a Shadow it won't be quite as good, but when purified it will get access to Return, which could definitely improve its performance. But how good will the new Shadow Palkia be? So it will be the 14th best Water type attacker, and it'll be the 4th best Dragon type attacker, just beating out Origin form Palkia. And in the Master League, it does seem like it'll have a slight improvement, so generally not a bad Pokemon to pick up if you need a strong Dragon type attacker. And if the altered form does ever get access to Spatial Rend through Elite Charge TM, although this does seem unlikely, it means that Shadow Palkia could get even stronger. But if you decide you don't want to get Shadow Palkia, how can you stack your Super Rocket Radar to use on something else in the future? So to do this, once you receive the Rocket Takeover special research, you basically need to just ignore it and make sure you don't claim rewards that'll take you past the first page of it. This is because if you don't go past page 1, the game doesn't correctly register that you have the research, meaning next time there's a Team Go Rocket Takeover, it will give you the new special research as well. However, if you did go to the second page, the game would consider you as having an active Team Go Rocket Takeover research, and you would then have to complete that one before you could receive the next one. And with you being able to remove frustration from your Shadow Pokemon during this event, which Shadow Pokemon should you prioritize? Well, it would be ideal to remove frustration from every Shadow Pokemon you've got, but unless you have a lot of Charge TMs, you will want to prioritize certain Pokemon. And firstly, I would recommend removing frustration from relevant Shadow Legendary Pokemon, such as Mewtwo, Kyogre, Groudon, Heatran, Raikou, Ho-Oh, and Palkia, for example. And then for raid attackers, I'd recommend Pokemon such as Conkeldurr, Garchomp, Excadrill, Rampardos, Rhyperior, Weavile, Mamoswine, Gengar, Metagross, Magnezone, Tyranitar, etc. And for Go Battle League, you could focus Pokemon like Feraligatr, Quagsire, Marowak, Jumpluff, Machamp, Galarian Weezing, Dusknoir, Dragonite, and Gyarados as some examples. And with that said, how can you get your hands on some charge TMs to do this? So if you're looking at removing frustration from a lot of Pokemon, you are going to need a lot of charge TMs. So you can get them as rewards for winning a raid battle, from Go Battle League win rewards, from showcases, and from routes. You can also occasionally get them from special research tasks, and during this Team Go Rocket takeover, you can get them from field research tasks as well. And as the Team Go Rocket Shadow Pokemon lineups will be changing up at the start of this event, there are some Shadow Pokemon I do recommend picking up before the changeover happens. Firstly, Giovanni will have Shadow Heatran up until the event goes live, so I would suggest picking up at least one of these because it is a very strong fire type attacker, being ranked as the 3rd best overall, and it's ranked 36 in the Master League as well. We do also currently have access to Shadow Beldum from Arlo, and Shadow Metagross is the 10th best psychic type attacker and the 2nd best steel type attacker. It's also ranked 100 in the Master League, but you do have the option of purifying it, and it is ranked 60 in its regular or purified form. And lastly, Shadow Routes is currently available from Sierra, and this is a good Pokemon to have, as I mentioned previously. So when you decide on which Pokemon you want to focus on during this event, how can you maximize candy for it? So you can always use Pinat Berries to double your candy gains from your catches, and you can Mega Evolve a Pokemon that's the same type as the Pokemon you're catching to increase the amount of candy XL, and XP you get per catch. There are, however, many different types of Pokemon spawning during this event, so it's worth identifying the Pokemon you want to get candy on the most, and then Mega Evolving a Pokemon that shares the type with that Pokemon. And remember to Mega Evolve a Pokemon that's at the max Mega level, so you will get more candy, XP, and chance for candy XL. And as well as candy, you will want some Stardust, and there are some ways you can maximize Stardust gains during this event. Firstly, the Fashion Week event does come with 2x catch Stardust, so you will be able to get 200 Stardust per catch. However, you can further increase this to 300 Stardust per catch if you use a Star Piece. So it's definitely not a bad time to be using Star Pieces, but if you are limited on them, I would recommend saving them for 3x or 4x catch Stardust events. It might also be worth using Origin Palkia's Spatial Rend Adventure effect to extend the encounter radius, making it easier for you to reach Pokemon in places you might not be able to access normally. This could help you catch more Pokemon in a given area and get you more Stardust and XP. And whilst there aren't any XP bonuses specifically for this event, it's always worth entering Pokestop showcases to get a bit of free XP and Stardust just for taking part. And if you do happen to win, which is a lot easier in rural areas, you might be able to get some lucky eggs and star pieces that you can use to get more XP and Stardust. And as it does require 35 platinum medals to get to level 49 in Pokemon Go, here are some medals that you can focus on during this event in particular. So with the increased Team Go Rocket presence, it's a good chance to work on your Platinum Hero and Purifier medals. And with another Super Rocket Radar being available, you can progress your Ultra Hero medal as well. There will be snapshot photobomb encounters with Croagunk in its fashionable outfit, and this is a good chance to work on your Cameraman Platinum medal. With there being quite a few good Pokemon in raids and shadow raids, and with the fact that you do get 2 free raid passes per day this season, it's a good chance to work on your Rising Star, Champion, and Battle Legend medals. And with event themed Pokestop showcases available, you can progress your Showcases Star medal, and this is the only way you can get an encounter with PhD Pikachu currently in the game. And with that said, if you did enjoy this video, then I recommend checking out these videos on the screen now, and I'll catch you in the next one.